and welcome to my new review. Before I get started, if I could please ask if you could like and subscribe to my channel. It would really help me out a lot, thanks. Here it is. This is my X Gundam, custom painted with various different techniques used in this one. So I'm just going to let you have a little look at it, see what you think. So this has been one of my favourite builds to date. I keep on finding new kits all the time that just make me so happy to be building and painting kits. So with this one, it's pretty much everything you get in the box is used just to build the kit. There are very few extras. The only bits you have extra are your 2 beam effects, and you get your additional clip-in hands. So you get a couple fists. You have your 2 widespreads, one attached on the model itself, and you have 2 for holding the beam sabers. So let's start by taking a look at the kit. So with this one I decided to go for the black and orange scheme on this, keeping some of the original details, so keeping the green for the cockpit and in the lenses, just to give it a bit of a different break to the colours. So the black was just a normal sort of black primer, but I did go over it with a flat top coat just to dull it down a little bit. And then on these I did some dry brushing for the edge highlights. The orange secondary details are just like that there. It's quite a vibrant orange really, and this one doesn't show it too well in the photos. But with this one I went over with a pale yellow for the edge highlighting on this one, which you might just about be able to see. You'll see it clearly on the weapons a little bit more. Just gives it a nice break-up of the colours on it, so it doesn't look all too much the same. So then going on to some of the other details of the silvers. So I did a mix of a sort of normal sort of aluminium type silver, and then you also went over some areas with the chrome pen as well, just to give a little bit of a difference there. For the actual head itself, kept that mostly to the black with some of the details showing through from the for the silver, and then went with a gold V-fin for this one. And then just a mix of gold details with the silver for all over the kit, and then pistons on the leg, those with the gold with the silver. Have a little look at some of the mobility on this kit. So we're starting off with the head. You have your just movement back and forward, and then this will turn around all the way around, but you do tend to have to be careful because of the way on the face mask there, it's got the 2 downward bits which make it look like it's got an X from the V-fin as well. Those can get in the way a little bit, so you just want to be a bit careful. Move on to the shoulders. The shoulders are slightly independent, so these all just fold up like this, and then inside the shoulder you can also pull out the section here, and this will be part for the weapon transformation later, and then that will just slide up, and that's just used for locking in the satellite cannons. So I can just slide that back down. So for the arms, all the way to the side without anything else, goes up not too bad. It's quite reasonable, just parallel with the body. So then we can also pull out the arms slightly, and these mainly tilt forward, so you can have a more of a forward motion, but also that does give you a little bit more, and so it does get just that a little bit higher, which is probably all you need really for this one. And then those can just fold back in. There is a rotation at the top of the arm, and then you have the elbow bend just like that. So that's quite good, goes all the way around nicely, and is quite a tight joint for these ones as well. So then that is the movements there, and then on the hands it's just your normal ball joint, which has a slight little bit of a movement in and out as well, and then it's these switch ball hands as well. And then on the side of the arm you have your sections which open up here for the heat disbursement, and those are the painted in the gold, and with the silver painted on the inside of there as well, and that just slides down back like that. So if we have a little look at the chest, so it's the motion forward. It's not a lot, and it's probably the weakest part of this kit really, is the waist, and back. It's on a ball joint, so it does everything you normally see a ball joint do, but that does mean it can be a bit loose. So when you have the weapon attached, you'll see later it can tilt back a bit because of the weight, depending on how you have it set up. So then we have the cockpit opening. So move the head out of the way and just pop that up and lift that around. And you have the cockpit there. It's a bit hard to make out, but that's painted inside as well. And then that just clips back in, and then that will just clip on there, just so it keeps a nice tight fitting there. So then we go and have a look at the skirting. So on the front, it's just on a little ball joint. It does get a little bit obstructed at times for some posing, but it's not too bad. And on the side, you have ball joint, but this will move all the way around out of the way, so it really gets, you can get some good motion on the side. And then on the side as well, for the beam sabers, you've got this motion here which you just flip out, and then you can then just pop out the beam saber, and then you can just put it back in. And this will also rotate around, so if I just hold this like that, so that you can rotate around just to have it that sort of grasping motion, just to pick up the beam saber. So then just to pop that back in, it just clips back in, there's a little peg that holds it into place. On the back, it's a single bladed back to it, but the skirting does move up slightly, so it does allow you to have some extra movement with the legs. So then if we have a look at the legs, so move these up out of the way just so you can see a bit clearly. So it's kind of like an off-center peg for the actual joint here. So easy to see it from there. So for the, I do notice it does tend to, the legs do tend to pop out sometimes. So it could be just due to the various varnishes I've done on this, it might have made it a bit slippery. But you have a reasonable motion all the way around. It won't go all the way around just because of this big armour coming up here. And then you have your motion all the way up. So it's really quite good there. And then you have your knee bend here. And so there you have a bit of separation on the actual knee itself, and that slip fits around. So there you go. And that just folds back in. And then on the ankles, it's on a two-stage joint. So you've got ball joint here. So that will allow you to go forward. Move this leg out of the way. So you can go up and down, and then this will go a bit further around and then back up and all the way. So the actual toe part of this will just fit down slightly, but not too much. It's only a slight bit of motion, so mostly there and there, but because of all the extra movement you have in this section, you can get it pointing down quite nicely. So for the back motion, goes back reasonably well considering the back skirting, and then to the side, all the way out there. So really good. And then you've got your sort of heatsink on the side of this one as well, and does exactly the same thing. When you pull it out, the gold panels will expand as well. So you can see that there like that. Just a nice little gimmick that it's put on this one. So leave that like that. So now we're going to have a look at some of the extras you get with this. So we'll start off with the rifle. So it's quite a nice simple designed rifle. It looks really nice and effective. It's got a lot of colour separation out of the box for this one, but as you can see with this one it's painted up, and I've separated a few other colours that were a bit different. On the actual silver of the actual rifle, on that one I used a sort of more of a gunmetal for the silver parts, and then I used the chrome pen actually just to highlight around the edges, so just to give that a little bit more of an extra look to it. And then there you can see the rest of the rifle. It's done through exactly the same way, I've edge highlighted and just dry brushed around all the edges with like a very light pale grey, and that just helps just to separate out the colours a little bit. So the rifle has got a additional feature, so you can pop this back here and you will see what that's for shortly. So now we move on to the shield. So the shield's quite interesting. It's got quite a lot of movement on this one. So on this one, so just put that back in. So start off with the front of it. It's quite a nice striking shield. So this one, it was a bit of a difference in colour, but it's a real nice shield in general. It's one of these ones where you've got motion here, so you can spin the shield around. You then can move it out here. Then you have motion on this side, so this will turn around as well here. And then once again here as well. So once it's attached, you can get quite a few fun poses with this one. And so to make use of the rifle, if you want to have that tucked away nicely, you have the clip on the back here, and that will just clip in here, and so when this attaches onto the arm, you'll have the rifle underneath, and then you have your shield on the side. Okay. You've also got your handle here, which just folds out, so you can just equip it with one of the hands and use it with one-handed as well. Okay, to equip these, it's like many of the other mobile kits with the removable fingers. So you just remove the fingers, you put the peg inside of the rifle and just move the thumb out of the way, and then you can just clip it on and then just move the thumb back into a better position, and there it is with the rifle equipped. For the shield, it's quite a nice easy joint here, so you have a peg on the joint here and you have the hole at the back of the arm, so it's just as simple as just popping that in and equipping it there. And as you can see, the extra range of motion really allows for quite fun sort of looks and appearances there. So now let's have a look at the backpack with the satellite cannons. So start off with just some of the more uninteresting bits. So you have your thrusters on the back here, which are just on a ball joint section, and they just move around, and then you just move onto the articulation onto the rest of here. So on the backpack you have motion up and down, and the same on both sides. And then if we move around to the satellite sections here, so these will fold out and lock into place like that, and then you flip this bit out and it will clip in on little clips there, just like that. And then to make use of the satellite cannon, so you just want to spin this all the way around and then lower this down, and then you can pull out section once and then twice, so it extends out the cannon quite well. And then this gives a little bit of motion on the side here. It just helps for when you're actually equipping it onto the actual mobile suit and to its binders. And so that will just clip back in and clip all the way back down, and so this moves all the way round just as you saw and will spin back. The actual satellites themselves have a little bit of movement back as well, just like that. I think it's quite a large backpack for this one, so it's a little bit hard to show it too well. So there, and like that. And of course this will spin around as well. And then just to undo this, it's got little clips. You can actually unclip them from either side and fold them around whichever way you want to. And there you go, that is it like this. So then if we want to attach it onto the mobile suit, it's very simple. So you've just got your peg here, and that will just lay up into the back. As you can see, it is quite a weighty back, so the joint here isn't too good for it. So it is recommended for this one to have it on a stand if you have it like that, because it will probably eventually want to fall backwards or have a really unnatural looking pose. You can have it so you can just adjust out the legs and then use the back sections just to prop it up a little bit. Well, I think it tends to look a lot nicer up on a stand because you can have it in a more space orientated pose then for that one. Okay, so now let's have a look at it with the satellite cannon deployed fully. Okay, so here is the cannon deployed. Easier to view it from like that. It is a really large weapon, really looks quite menacing, especially on this. And then after firing, want to deploy its heat sinks as well. It has a very nice sort of look with everything deployed out. And you probably can actually see a little bit more of the detailing on the weapons with the edge highlighting in that paler yellow as well on these ones. Okay, so just going to stick up a few pictures in some various poses. You may have seen some of them if you follow me on Instagram before, but here you are. So now let's just get on about the build and what I think of the kit in general. The build, very easy to do, very few problem parts. It's quite simple, it all fits together quite easily. The worst joint on it is going to be the waist, because it does make it a bit harder to support the weapon if you're not using it in a flight pose. If you are using the satellite cannon actually extended, it actually holds up really nicely and it balances perfectly, even when it's standing on the ground. So I think that might have been something they worked on in the design of this one. If you're using it in the sort of with it all tucked away, then you might want to extend the barrel, and you can then use that just to prop up the Gundam from the back, just so it doesn't drop back or fall backwards at all. So it does probably have a bit of a tendency with that. The arm joints are all quite solid, all quite stiff as well, so you don't tend to have any dropping motion. The weapons are quite light for the arms as well, so that helps with that as well. With the legs, they're quite good. It's only, as I said, sometimes the legs can pop out when you're moving them around a little bit. Other than that, they're spot on. The backpack itself is quite solid. There is very few moving parts on it, and they're all quite large and quite substantial, so you don't really have any issues with anything coming loose there. You've got the satellite cannons themselves, they all fold out nicely. It's all quite a nice tight fit, so it feels like you're actually having to pull it out a little bit. It's not loose by any means. One thing I did forget to mention, on the green sections behind them I've used a chrome pen just so it helps sort of reflect the light a little bit more. And yeah, so with this kit, would recommend it if you're a big fan of the Gundam X, or if you just like this design, or you want to do something a bit different. It's not one I see too many times about. It's certainly one of the more easier kits, as I've said, so it's friendly to all, beginner and expert alike, for this kit. Well, thank you for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you like my custom X Gundam. Thanks again, and see you next time.